All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 15th, 2021, and it's actually 4:02, so we are a little bit tardy. We will get this Personnel Human Services Committee meeting brought to order. And a roll call, please.
Johnson.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Fox. Here. DeGick.
Here.
Luna.
Here.
Radke. Here. Herrick.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. All right, the first order of business are the minutes for February 15th, 2022's meeting.
So moved.
Support.
They've been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of moving those minutes?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the minutes have been resolved. Now is the point in the meeting where we come to public input. If there is anyone in the crowd today who would like to step forward and go ahead and speak, you just go ahead and state your name, sign in, and you've got 5 minutes. All right, seeing as how there's no one there today, we'll move on to petitions and communications. First order that we need to discuss is Resolution A will be removed from today's agenda. Will be brought forward after some more details are ironed out, so we can remove that one for today. So next order of business is letter B under the Bay County Sheriff. B1, Command Officer Lieutenant position, seeking a reinstatement of a position.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none at this time, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion will move forward. B2, Patrol Deputy starting wage, seeking authorization to pay patrol deputies a starting wage of $23.18 per hour.
So moved. Support.
Has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none at this time, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That will move on. All right, we move on to item C, Director of Administrative Services, agreement with Bay Arenac Intermediate School District.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any discussion? I think it sounds like a great opportunity for some people to be able to go in there and do some really cool work. So
Yeah.
I know I was looking at this and thinking to myself, my daughter is at the skills center right now, and if this would have been an opportunity, I bet she would have hopped on. I know my wife would have if she could have gone back, but don't tell anybody. She's a little bit old for that. All right, so seeing that there's nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? All right, so we'll move that forward. Letter D, Retirement Administrator, purchase of active service military time for retirement purposes. Mr. Dustin Box from the Sheriff's Office seeking to purchase 1 year and 3 months of active service military time.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and congratulations for Mr. Box. Letter E, Department of Criminal Defense, professional service agreement with Sally Warren.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That resolution moves forward. All right, we are on to item F with the health officer. Affiliation agreement with Delta College for phlebotomy services, seeking approval.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that will move forward as well. I'm just happy I said phlebotomy right. All right, on to the health officer, F2, reauthorization of general services agreement with SVSU, seeking approval of their agreement.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That will move forward as well. All right, we are on to item G, Emergency Management Coordinator, Bay County Hazard Mitigation Plan, seeking approval of the proposed plan.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the plan? Mr. Begay.
I was at Monitor Township when they were doing their plan. I guess the question for Ryan is, so all the townships submitted their hazard mitigation plan, and this is sort of a compilation
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Begic. This is a culmination of about 3 years of work by elected officials, agencies within Bay County, volunteers. I have met once a month. Even through the pandemic, we managed to meet most months to put this plan into place. Now it has been accepted by the state of Michigan, moved to FEMA, and FEMA has accepted the plan. Now it just needs adoption by the municipalities that wish to sign on.
So it wouldn't be good if we turned it down now, right, after all that long process, right?
Only if you want to go through it all over again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All right, thank you. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move that on to the next meeting. All right, and now we are on the Personnel Director's items. We've got vacancies at 911 Central Dispatch, a dispatcher position, full-time, an assistant director. Juvenile home is seeking a youth development worker and a supervisor. County clerk, typist clerk, a civic arena manager.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion on any of those particular items? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then those will move forward as well. Under the Personnel Director, number 2, a new position at the Civic Arena, seeking creation of a full-time programming coordinator position.
I'll move it.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that will move forward as well. So now we are on item I, Office of Assigned Counsel. Under there, number 1 is 2021's year-to-date report. We need a motion to
Motion to
receive.
receive. Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we will move on then to number 2, January's 2022 report. A motion to receive would be in order.
So moved.
Been moved
Support.
and supported? All right, moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So now we are on to referrals. Seeing none listed and none that I am aware of, we'll move back down into unfinished business. Commissioner Coonan.
Yes, going regarding the ARPA program, have we hired anybody, an attorney, to help us with anything to do with ARPA?
We have.
Do we not have to approve that?
No, under Corporation Counsel guidelines, if we're retaining outside civil counsel, that's something that's done through my office.
Repeat that, please.
Sure. Under civil counsel guidelines, Corporation Counsel is the entity that is designated as responsible for hiring outside counsel.
To what amount?
Up to $20,000, whatever amount is budgeted for outside counsel.
So once the $20,000 is expended, then what happens?
Then I would have to ask for a budget adjustment for additional funds to pay for the attorney if he was going to spend more than that.
And regarding, let's say, for example, is he working with you to provide contracts for the money that has been allocated?
I have been in charge of the money that's been allocated directly to the Boys and Girls Club because that's a direct subrecipient award. He has been retained to look at and draft contracts for Bay Future and for the Bay Community Foundation because they are pass-through entities that are going to require a little bit more in-depth analysis and follow-through. And as part of that contract, for instance, with Bay Future and the Bay Community Foundation, they're going to make recommendations as to who they believe they should award the money to. And for each of those recommendations, it's going to have to go in front of legal to make sure that that is an accepted use under ARPA. And I wanted to remove myself from that situation, so there was no perceived political involvement on my part of making any decisions as to who was and who wasn't getting money. So outside counsel, who's uninvolved with the county, not employed with the county, will be making that independent determination as to whether or not it's an allowed expense or not an allowed expense.
So when that, within their contracts with those two organizations, I believe with the chamber, the money that was going to the chamber, that they were going to report back to the board on a monthly basis. Is that going to be included in there?
All of the reporting requirements will be included in that agreement, yes. And he has been meeting not only with, every time he meets with Bay Future, he also meets with our finance department, and we've had several separate meetings with the finance department as well, just to ensure that whatever those contracts include all of the required reporting that the state and the federal government is going to require.
So throughout this reporting, throughout the contract, whatever it is, a year or two, whatever it takes them to expend that money, then they're going to report back to us on a monthly basis so we can see where those dollars are going.
I don't know if it's on a month, if it's been determined that that's on a monthly basis. I believe it was a quarterly basis.
Commissioner Fox.
Yeah, Amber, so if I'm reading this correctly, we've allocated dollars, but we have not sent any dollars yet?
We have allocated dollars, but we have not yet dispersed dollars.
And when will that happen? Because I
With the
think
boy-
one of our goals was to get this out to the community as quickly as we could.
Sure. With the Boys and Girls Club, that should be dispersed within the next 2 weeks. There were some issues with state filings where they were not up to date with those filings that were caught by our finance department, so we had to ensure that that happened. And also some final follow-up requirements as it relates to reporting that we were looking at, required by the government. So the majority of that contract is drafted, and Boys and Girls Club have been on board with everything that we've asked them to do today.
And Bay Future and Bay Community Foundation?
Bay Future and Bay Community Foundation are more complex. Bay Future will hopefully be getting money, I would assume, within the next 30 days. That's hopeful.
They'll have a window.
Right.
So once we release and approve that contract and the board signs the contract and the future signs contract, the expectation is there'll be an open window period for businesses to submit. And so the expectation is once that hits the street from the Bay Future side, that'll be a 90-day window, an open period to ensure we have this as far and wide as possible for businesses during that open period to start that. So there will be some lag, but that's to ensure that as many businesses as possible can be included in that.
And with Bay Community Foundation, they are in the process right now of a software
Yes.
change. They did not want to start this process until they were comfortable with their software change that's taking place right now. We are working with them to set up the parameters of a contract, but they're going to be incorporating this money. We haven't decided yet, we're still in talks with them as to whether or not they want to put out a separate request for forgive as opposed to when they usually do it, I believe in the summer, and then they disperse in the fall. So we're still in talks with them over what timeline they feel comfortable with in terms of administering those dollars and telling people, okay, now's the window that's open for you to put in your requests for ARPA dollars. It's a little different because with Bay Community Foundation, they're generally, the entities that they give to, the 501c3s, are not used to the very robust reporting requirements that we are required to follow under ARPA. And they want to educate all of those 501c3s before they even put in their applications as to what's going to be expected of them if they make this ask for dollars. So there has been some talk about even some educational presentations for all of those 501c3s that would include our county finance department, the Bay Community Foundation, and outside counsel to answer the questions that these 501c3s have about their reporting requirements are going to be before they put in their request. Because it is going to be more onerous than what they're used to.
Mr. Begic, I think was next.
So I was on a call, a NACO call, National Association of Counties call today. They had somebody talking about ARPA, and I don't know if you saw it in the news, but at the federal level, they're looking to get some of that money back. They think some of the money is not being spent appropriately. They're recommending that we allocate as soon as possible, even though we have more time to allocate, because they are starting to look, what they're calling is clawing back the money. So that's from the federal level, because we need the money.
Thank you. Commissioner Krieger.
So one of my concerns is, we started in 2021 with wanting to support the veterans. And it doesn't sound like there would be any funding coming to them through the Community Foundation to maybe 2023. Is that, am I reading that wrong on what you just laid out on the timelines and when money would actually be distributed?
If they follow their regular grant giving cycle, I believe that they start that in late summer and the money is dispersed in the fall.
If they get all their software put together first, correct?
Well, the assumption is that that software package is going to be put together and the conversion made before they start with their regular process. Our question when we were meeting with them was whether or not they would be able to have it done soon enough that they would issue a separate vetting term and process before their regular process that starts in late summer.
Well,
That would be my preference.
I'd be willing to bet that it'll probably be 2023 before they see any of the funds that they need. But that's just, you know, everybody has an opinion, and I certainly have one. So I hope you're right, and we can get these funds out sooner than later. So, thank you.
Everyone is working as expediently as we can. It's very, very complicated, and
Sure.
And we are very aware of the fact that we are going to be audited because of the amount of funds that we've been given, and we want to make sure that we're spending this appropriately, that we're reporting appropriately, and that we have no findings on an audit when we get audited, because we don't want to be in a position where we're
All I
paying
want to
money
say
back.
is that the board was given that responsibility, which we then delegated out to these different agencies. I want to make sure that the board doesn't lose control of knowing where these funds are going.
And that's one of the reasons that we're being so diligent in terms of reporting requirements.
Some of the key
Thank you.
pieces that we've been focused on is making sure upfront we work with and build strong partnerships, because this is just as new to us as it is to the Community Foundation and whether it's the Chamber or the Future. And so building those partnerships, them understanding crystal clear what they're going to submit to us and what their responsibility is upfront is super important. So
And-
putting that together.
And I understand that, but when we made a decision to relinquish some of our responsibilities, let's say to Bay Future, and I sat in a meeting with two other commissioners, we were sold that they were bringing in all of their specialists, and they guaranteed us that certain things were going to be followed and not for us to worry. So I want to make sure that they're held responsible and not the county, although it still falls on our lap, that everybody's doing their due diligence.
That's been a conversation with outside counsel to make sure that we have everything in this contract that protects the county, and to make sure that everything is done in concert with existing grant guidelines and with the federal government, to make sure we protect ourselves when we're doing this as efficiently as possible.
So back to the question that was asked by Commissioner Coonan, it sounds like with all the work that's outside counsel is going to do, that we'll probably be seeing something coming from administration to have a budget adjustment, because I'm sure we're going to exceed that $20,000, because attorneys are not cheap.
That's true.
Thank you.
Commissioner Coonan.
Going back to that, you know, we're getting $20 million. That's a lot of money. And nobody here expected expertise out of you folks because it's all new. And I think if we would have kind of mirrored what the city did, and I think the city is ahead of us in organization, in planning, in the whole gamut. They went out and hired an expert firm in this area to help them out. We seem to be doing it at piecemeal. And then that way we could have approved this particular firm to oversee all the things that you are talking about that are very complicated, and you're going to bring in an attorney for here, and I don't know what else. We have no idea what this attorney's doing or what the extent that he's going to be doing. I think if we had started right from the get-go and realized that $20 million is a lot of money and we don't have the expertise to do this. We should have gone out from the get-go and hired somebody to oversee this administratively for us. Now, we're doing it a little bit here, a little bit there. I just think we're behind the 8 ball.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just would like to respond and say Kevin Kilby has a tremendous amount of expertise in that. He's working with other local governments. We have to be, of course, we want to get this money in the hands of the people as soon as we can. But I know, and we've met extensively with Bay Future and Mr. Kilby about the precise requirements of the federal government in terms of the grants and how to, the rubric that you need to allocate the amount of grant to each small business. So one of the things we don't want to do is repeat what we did some years ago with the Division on Aging when it was under the Department of Health, and we had a big problem there, and the FBI was in, and we were out of compliance, and thank God we didn't get pursued criminally about it. But I have a feeling, as Commissioner Begic just mentioned, that there are, if you're not very careful, there are probably going to be a lot of audits that turn up misspending by local government. And maybe the federal government should have thought that through a little, or maybe they will loosen the requirements. But it appears they're having second thoughts about how the money is being spent or misspent. And so we want to, be my desire to allocate all the money and then make sure it's accurately and very appropriately spent, so that we have the ability to document that to the federal government. We don't want our money clawed back, because you can't spend it twice. It'll be a big hit if the money is spent inappropriately and we have to pay back out of the general fund with penalty and interest or something. Trying to avoid that situation from happening again. But thank you, Mr.
That was my concern. We should have, from the get-go, brought in somebody with some expertise on this, and we could have approved whatever that contract was for that individual. I just found out we brought somebody in to help us out. I have no idea that was taking place. This is $20 million. If we would have, all you had to do is look at what the city, and I'll give the city credit. They created groups, and they seem to be way ahead of us here. And I give them credit. I don't necessarily give us credit, but I think from the get-go, we should have hired somebody up front and give them whatever percentage that was, if it's 5%, to run the whole thing, and then we don't have to do this, issue by issue.
I would just say time will tell. If you compare our track record of finances with the city, I think we're superior in every single category.
I'm talking about this issue, not everything else. This track record here for the county, I've been here 22 years, and Ernie's been here 20, Vaughn's been here 20 years. We know what the track record is. It's very darn good. I'm just saying I'm not confident that this particular program, we should have gone out from the get-go and gotten somebody to oversee this for us.
As I recall, there were discussions at the board meetings where, why even take it up till 2026, Commissioner Coonan? Do you remember that?
No.
Yes,
Take
I
what
do.
up to 2026?
We could go back in the Zoom,
What are you talking about, take up to 2026?
Remember when you said we don't need to spend it for 5 years or 4 years?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. I say you don't have to spend it. I didn't say we shouldn't spend it. That's what you got, those numbers have used to spend it.
We want to be deliberate and accurate and avoid, criminal charges.
I agree with you 100% there. I'm just saying we should have had somebody with some expertise assist us with this.
We are.
Okay. Yeah. That's the first we found out about it.
I'm good.
Okay.
Well, okay, I will.
Go ahead.
Since I talk to city commissioners quite often, they're actually, the ones I talk to said they are like the way we did it rather than the way they did it. So I guess you could go back and forth on this all you want, and I'll go with what Mr. Barsha said, that time will tell, because they said we think what you did is really good. You know, we got too many different things going on, too many different groups, everybody's meeting, half the time they're not getting together enough with each other. They just liked the way we handled it, on the basis we did it, you know, the way we're dishing out money and pots, you know, and putting it there, and rather than having 16 different committees there that are meeting all the time. They like our process, but that's not all of them. It's the same, we're going to go back to the same thing. Time will tell. Obviously, we think we got it right here, so that's the way we're going. We got a lot of good people here. A lot of people work hard every day.
I would agree. And then and when you look on top of the fact that they've still got to, on top of all of these extra funds, work on making sure that they're doing what their regular work would have been without these extra tasks. So, yep. Anything else? All right, so let's move on to miscellaneous, or I'm sorry, new business. Any new business? Seeing none. Miscellaneous. Announcements.
St. Patrick's Day Parade, Sunday, 50 degrees, no rain, 2 o'clock. Be there.
Yeah, I saw 54 and sun, but it's only Tuesday, so that, you know, it could snow by then, so.
Yes, so parade starts at 2 p.m. The 8K begins at 9 a.m., followed by the 5K at 11 a.m. I bring this up because plan accordingly, because a good portion of Center Avenue will be closed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not rushing through March, but on April 2nd from 9 to 1, that's a Saturday, we're doing a Carnival for Cattery event with the SVSU Roberts Fellowship students. Nice event. They're going to have games, and funds raised there will go towards redecorating and renovating the cattery at the shelter. So come join us.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to adjourn.
You move to adjourn? And support? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are done. Thank you.